Xavier coaching too.
Hats off to Butler. I thought in the second half they were the tougher team. They made everything hard. They put a tremendous pressure on us on the glass. I did not like our response. Coming into the game, we felt like a huge key to the game were the 50-50 balls, our play on the backboard, and that to me was a startling difference in the game. They out-rebounded us by 11. We didn't get offensive rebounds in the game until it didn't matter. And you give Butler credit. They were ready to play the same way for 40 minutes, and we only challenged them for about 30. And you have to play a complete game in order to beat a really well-coached, driven team.
Hey, Chris, you talked about how you didn't like some things in the second half, but in the first half when Butler had some starters in foul trouble and Barlow and Woods had to sit for a bit, and honestly, I think part because your defense, they didn't shoot well, and yet they still had a 3-point lead. Was that bothersome at all? Because it seemed like you had a few things going the way you wanted to.
No, the free throws, we made a couple silly fouls that got Kellen to the line at the end of the half. And, those things happen. But despite whether they were winning or losing, we didn't go into halftime, down or not ready to play in the second half or didn't feel like we were behind the eight ball. Just, they're a good team. And, felt like in the second half they would probably play more man. If they got into foul trouble like they did in the first half, it would really affect the game. Foul trouble in the first half doesn't affect it so much, but there's a finality in the second half when you get in foul trouble. But we could never really exploit that. And then, like I said before, on the glass, we couldn't do a good enough job to win the game in the second half.
Chris, with about, 15 minutes ago is when Cam Woods hit that, made the three-point play that tied up the game, and then they kind of went from there. How did you feel like the defense played in the last 15 minutes? And was it more of what you're saying, the 50-50 balls and the rebounds that were dictating the outcome then?
It was just an avalanche of things. It was Rosie Jones right to the rim. We went over, ball screen rejections over and over and over leading up to the game, but yet he and Jackson Aldridge and Dunham, you name it, they just rejected ball screens right to the rim. It was just like I said, an avalanche of things. It wasn't one thing, but from my vantage point, I just felt like we got out toughed and couldn't come up with loose ball rebounds, and their physicality prevailed.
Just Trayvon Blewett, Indianapolis kid, has really made a smooth transition to the college game. Why has he been so successful this year?
Well, I think, number one, Trayvon's really talented. He's got a high IQ, but, he's an unselfish guy. But he's got to get better on the defensive end. Because that's an area that our entire team has to, but we're not going to win games if we give up 80 points in conference play, 88 points. So.
Coach, 7 teams in the Big East are 31 or better in the RPI. I think it's 2 for the Big Ten. And not to compare and contrast leagues, but this league, is this a league that, you can't play 30 minutes and survive at all?
Well, it's a hard league. Every league's hard, but, this one, is one that very, very talented players, athletic, tough kids, well coached. There's been an influx in talent in our league. There are a lot of teams with impact freshmen. It's just it's a bear. It's hard to win on the road. Hell, it's hard to win at home. But teams did what they needed to do out of conference to put us in a position where they are going to be able to talk about 6, 7, 8 teams making the NCAA tournament. But that's way down the line for another day.
Is Brandon okay?
Yeah, he's fine.
Given how you guys finished up the last game, played the last 10 minutes against Seton Hall, and you talked about the toughness of your defense then, how surprising is it for you guys to come out like this today?
I probably shouldn't be surprised because it's been our Achilles heel, especially on the road. We've played 4 true road games now, and in each of them, I think in the second half, we just can't get stops. And then when the team finally decides to miss or does miss, we can't get a defensive rebound. And it really doesn't matter at this point what combination of guys we have on the floor. Our team's got to grow up in many ways, and that's not a dig at our freshmen because we got some older guys that need to grow up.
Give me an idea, from your own standpoint, how to coach that into them.
Well, if I knew on January 10th our team wouldn't perform the way they did in the second half, the only way I know is to go to practice and continue to emphasize it through drills, show them on film where we're coming up short, maybe play different guys. But and if we're going to win in this league, especially on the road, our team just has to grow up and get tougher. And that's as simple as I can put it.
Are these road struggles, are these more frustrating than usual, or is this something you kind of have to go through with every year with every team and get them to grow up and learn how to win on the road?
Well, I mean, we're not the only team in college basketball that struggles to win road games. We're not going to come in here and just out-talent you and, Duke and Kentucky and just roll over teams. I mean, it's just we've got to battle, we got to fight, and in order to win games like this. And Butler's good. I mean, they beat Carolina, and they beat teams for a reason. And so if we want to be able to beat them in their house, then we have to exhibit the same will that we did for the first 25 minutes of the game for 40 minutes.